Debilitation represents the lowest condition of a planet. A debilitated planet becomes confused and powerless. And this is also the main difference between a debilitated planet and a planet in enemy dignity. Both dignities are challenging, but a planet in enemy dignity can still function, albeit in a limited way. He is less supported, he becomes less effective, but he can still push through to achieve some results if he makes the effort. A debilitated planet, on the other hand, is at an absolute low point. He possesses no capability and therefore doesn't even want to try. The self-doubt, the fear of failure becomes so great that it stops him from even making an effort. And so whenever you see a planet debilitated, then you know that this person is really struggling, and you need to help them and counsel them about how to use that planet properly. And once they become aware of what they have done wrong and start making a conscious effort to do it right, then gradually they can improve and get better results. How exactly does a debilitated planet malfunction? A debilitated planet lost its natural expression. Muller Trikona and exaltation dignity allow a planet to express its pure energy and perform at its best, but when a planet is debilitated, then it is disconnected from its energy source, and then it has practically lost its identity. It gets confused and uncertain about what to do. And then basically everything it does becomes an act of desperation. What does that exactly mean? Well, even though the qualities of the debilitation sign are contrary to its own, it has no other choice than to work with them and try to make the most of it. And of course, usually that doesn't end well. When we use a planet in the opposite way of its original purpose, then we can quickly see how this is not a very smart idea. The planet's expression and actions become distorted, and it becomes dysfunctional and causes failure. So what is the solution? The solution is to balance the qualities of the sign with its own inherent qualities. And the person might not even know what those inherent qualities are because they are used to using the planet in a wrong way. So they need to make the effort to learn about those inherent qualities. And the other thing is that they should not make the mistake to then ignore the sign and only focus on the qualities of the planet. Right? This is another mistake. So Jupiter in Capricorn, for example, the person might initially only believe in money and status as the goal of life. And when that doesn't work out and it doesn't give them the happiness that they were expecting, then Jupiter might go to the other extreme and completely reject the status and money-oriented sign of Capricorn altogether and consider that material life is meaningless. And so the debilitated planet really needs to strive for balance between itself and the sign that it is in. And this is not easy because there's an inherent conflict of interest and an underlying tension. But with conscious effort, the planet can learn to function normally, even though it is placed in an unfavorable environment. And so now let's see what this means for each of the planets. So let's start with the Sun in Libra. What is the Sun? The Sun is the South, and the Sun asserts its power to achieve its potential. And Libra is really trying to do the opposite. It is ruled by Venus, who is the planet of balance and cooperation. And so for Libra, it's all about making a deal that is mutually beneficial. And so this idea of having to consider others equally doesn't support the Sun's desire for independent leadership at all. And so what happens in Libra, the Sun's assertiveness is toned down in favor of making compromises. And as a result, the Sun in Libra can't really make good decisions because it is not clear on what it is supposed to do. By nature, it only cares about itself and its own, making its own decisions. And here in Libra, all of a sudden, it's meant to consider others as well. And so the Sun here really loses its leadership capability, and it cannot anymore demand respect for what it does. And so instead what it does, it becomes a people pleaser and overly focused on others. So what is the solution for Sun in Libra? Sun in Libra needs to stop seeking external validation and start considering themselves. People with Sun in Libra, they need to focus on their own personal achievements, as this will actually help them balance their partnership. And they can do that when they make decisions without excessively compromising, and when they recognize that not all actions require the approval of others. And so considering themselves, respecting themselves is really the first step towards balancing the Sun in Libra. Because true harmony for them begins with developing a strong sense of self. And so when they develop their individuality and make choices based on their own values and goals, then they can truly be who they are, they can shine as who they are, and then the relationship can also finally reach the balance and harmony that they have always wished for. So why is the Moon debilitated in Scorpio? The Moon rules our home and inner foundation, and it strives for a safe and nurturing environment. But Scorpio offers just the opposite. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, who is intense, aggressive, and also transformative. And so the Moon, being gentle and sensitive, really doesn't appreciate this harsh and volatile environment of Scorpio, right? The Moon, in order to express its emotions freely, it needs a safe and stable environment. And this is not what he can get when he is debilitated in Scorpio. Scorpio also rules deception and betrayal. Right? Scorpio can be very secretive in an attack when it is the least expected. And so we can easily understand how difficult it is for the Moon to feel safe when debilitated in Scorpio. So what is happening here? The Moon really gets overwhelmed by the intense emotions of Scorpio. Right? A debilitated Moon in Scorpio ultimately really suffers the consequences of traumatic experiences in childhood that left behind fears and phobias that are extremely difficult to process. And then what happens to the person becomes overly guarded. They cannot trust anyone anymore, and they are rather manipulative than really showing their true feelings. So what is the solution? The solution is to become aware of one's emotions. And so the person needs to engage in some form of psychological therapy to process their emotions and cultivate healthy emotions. And instead of denying their past and sabotaging themselves, they really need to confront their feelings and process old wounds. And when they can do that, then gradually they can start to have better relationships.